right. Good morning. What is up? Welcome everybody to another it's been like 3 weeks, live stream edition of the NFL regular season. Obviously, we're in week 18 now. Joined with me, as always, Andrew Kim, aka the ParlayDoc. Andrew, how we doing?
Good. Happy New Year to you, Matt, and to everybody out there.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. So Andrew and I were talking before the stream, and it's kind of funny, separately came to the conclusion that like any game that has literally zero playoff implications, we didn't have anything for. So that's going to be Browns, Bengals, Jets, Patriots, Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers, and Rams, 49ers.
Yep.
We're not going to have anything for those games. If you really want to bet them, then I would say look elsewhere because we're not going to help you out there. Sorry, I just can't get it up for Sam Darnold versus Carson Wentz. It's not 2019 anymore. So we're not going to have anything for that game, but I appreciate everybody who is tuning in to us, with us this morning. Make sure any questions you have, get those in the chat. We'll monitor that. Michael Fisher, Goosey in the house. What's up, Mr. Blonde? Appreciate you for joining us. And let's get started. First game, Bucks, Panthers. What do you got for me in this one?
Oh, Bucks Panthers. That's the one you're starting off hot here. That's the one where I actually have a lot of picks. So
there we go.
Bucks versus Panthers. The name of this week for me is just I'm betting on desperation, guys. So I'm going with the teams that must win. I've seen some articles out there, and people are like, "Oh, the Panthers are going to play loose and free," and this, yeah, loose and free, but you still suck. So I really don't care. So when I know that I'm playing against the Panthers and the Bucks just have to win and they do control their destiny to some degree, I'm going to take Bucks -3.5, -110 on FanDuel. People have been talking about wins, but the wins are like 10 miles an hour. And I don't think Baker Mayfield, of all people, who's so cavalier, is going to care about 10 miles an hour win. If you look at the receiver production, Mike Evans went off for like 162 yards last time, against the Panthers. I can't remember if that was without Godwin. He might not have been playing. So you have to factor that in. But then the other way to look at that is it's even more impressive because when you're basically the only receiver person, and you can still produce 160 something yards. So in terms of player props, I'm going Mike Evans over 60.5 receiving yards, -120 on PointsBet. In a must-win game, I'm going to believe that Baker Mayfield is going to force-feed this guy. Godwin over 50.5 receiving yards, -115, with all the attention on Evans trying to burn you deep. I think Godwin's going to get a million crossers, so I almost like Godwin even better, but I'm going to go both ways. So Mike Evans over 60.5, Godwin over 50.5, also -115 on PointsBet. And then finally, I might as well, because if I believe those guys are going to get 110 apiece, together, right, I'm going to go Baker Mayfield over 223.5 on FanDuel at -110 as well. So Baker Mayfield, his receivers, and the Bucks, I'm all in. So I'm going to get burned and look stupid, or it's going to be easy money. It's going to be one or the other. So.
Yeah, so I'm with you on the Bucks. I locked them in earlier this week, and I thought it was going to be a good price. I got them -4.5. It moved the opposite direction. It feels like it seems like the sharp money's on the Panthers, which I don't really understand.
Yeah.
I'm with you on the Bucks. I actually went a different route in terms of backing them, and I went with Rachaad White anytime touchdown. I didn't touch anything with the passing game. Granted, I love the Evans play. I love the anytime touchdown, which I know some people in the comments are pointing out that one as well. But to me, like Rachaad White, anytime touchdown is -105.
That's pretty good
at FanDuel. That's incredible. Like, first of all, every other book, if you look, this was as of yesterday, so I don't know how the odds have changed, but like Caesars was at -150, DraftKings -135. And White, so he only scored one game in the first 7 games for the Bucks. Since then, he scored in 7 of 9 games. One of them he missed was last week, which was just a terrible game for the Bucks offense. Prior to that, they'd been on fire, and that was against the Saints defense, who's also been playing really well. Now they're going up against the Panthers. Because the Panthers stink, they have given up the most rushing touchdowns per game, or just total, I guess both, because everybody's played the same amount of games. They give up the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL. They have the worst run defense according to DVOA. And I think that Rachaad White is like a mini Christian McCaffrey. He just gets every snap, every carry for the Bucks. They rely on him in the red zone. So normally I try to get plus money for the anytime touchdowns, but -105 I thought was a gift. He scored the first time these two teams played So, yeah, I'm with you on the Bucks, but I just went the running game and Rashad White as opposed to the passing game. But all of our plays could hit.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think the only reason I stayed away from Rashad White is I agree with everything you said. It's just weird, man. I mean, sometimes the Bucks, I feel like they just have a propensity to just give up on the run, and they're just like F it. But I think with Rashad White, he's proven he can score with those screen passes, dump off. He could score both ways. More in my mind, he's more likely to score off a short pass and in the red zone more than even rushing in. So
sure, yeah. All right, so next game, Vikings Lions. I just have a player prop for this one. I took Nick Mullins over 259.5 passing yards. I put a full unit on this one. It's best offered -114 at Bet Rivers. Nick Mullins, he's like Flacco, where he just throws the ball a million times. And he's not as good as Flacco because he throws a bunch of interceptions, which just means that he's going to throw for even more yards.
Yeah.
He only has 2 real starts this year, so it's a tiny sample size, but he threw for 303 and 411 passing yards in those games. And then last week he got benched because he stinks, but they're going back to him once again. In this game, I don't think they're going to bench him again at halftime. They're not going to do what the Commanders did with Sam Howell and bench them in 2 straight games. And the Lions are a pass funnel. You can't run on them, but you can absolutely pass on them. They're allowing the most passing yards per game just on the entire season. And they're the only team on the entire year that's allowing over 300 passing yards per game. And they've gotten worse recently and since week 10. So that's a pretty big sample size. It's 7 weeks. They're still allowing the most passing yards per game, but they're up to 320 per game. The second highest team is all the way down at 306. So I think that, again, they're just going to pass the ball a ton. I also like Justin Jefferson receiving yards over, and I like Ty Chandler rushing yards under because all 3 of those plays are correlated.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going with this one. I don't have a play on the side or anything like that. I'm just going with passing for Mullins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything on the side because I know Campbell keeps saying he's going to play his starters, but I think he could just he's being coy and strategic, and he may just sit them after, who knows, man. I mean, he might sit them after the half by the third quarter.
Yeah, the problem is, I think if they win and the Cowboys lose, technically the Lions would be the 2 seed. Isn't that right?
I think there's 2 scenarios. I think the Cowboys have to lose and someone else has to lose.
Oh, and the Eagles. The Cowboys and the Eagles both have to lose.
And that makes it tougher.
That's true. That's true. I could just see Campbell being high T, being like, we're going to play our guys and we're going to try to win. But yeah, it's a fair point. They could end up.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I'm just like, I don't know. I stayed away from Lions props, and I'm staying away from the side itself because I wonder if they're going to look at the scoreboards at halftime or something and be like,
well, so the problem with that is both the Eagles and the Cowboys play at the 4 p.m. slate.
Oh, so are they playing at the 4 p.m.? Okay,
gotcha. So they won't know. So the NFL did that on purpose.
Then maybe they will play their starters. But either way, I'm too nervous to touch the Lions people. So I'm kind of riding with you though. Mullins, I really hate it. I was searching and searching. They don't have pass attempts. I would have slammed pass attempts, but they don't have that listed anywhere. And I think the books just know he might throw 1,000 times today.
There's a lot of props and games with props that they're just not the books that just aren't even listing. It's kind of, I mean, I get it because it's week 18 and they're like, they don't want to get caught with their pants down, but there's a lot of stuff that I couldn't find that I wanted to.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So, but yeah, it's right now, even you can get Mullins at over 255.5 on Rivers, which is a weird 10 to 14 yard discount. So
are you seeing that on OddsJam?
Yeah.
That's not correct. I looked at that. If you go to Bet Rivers,
already,
it's at 259. Yeah, OddsJam just has that incorrect.
I would still take that at 259.
Same. Me too. Me too.
It's really good. And then similar to that, because I believe he is going to sling it just like Matt is. I'm actually going with 2 of the Vikings receivers. I think it's way too low. KJ Osborne over 26.5 receiving yards, and he's crossed that I think in the last 3 games straight. And those were with more, I guess, less keen to throw, quarterbacks. So with Mullins, I think he's just going to sling it nonstop. And with all the attention on Jefferson, I got to believe Osborne's going to get several targets. So he just needs 2 catches to get that, guys. So I like KJ Osborne over 26.5. That's at -115 on ESPN bet. And I also am going to go with Addison, which I think is just on the low side. I think people are still nervous about, if he's totally full health, still recovering from the ankle. But he played last game, wasn't great. I think he got 20-something yards. But Again, must-win game, another week to kind of heal up a little bit. Over 45.5. God, I don't know, man. 3-4 receptions, something like that. So that's at -108, over 45.5 at Caesars. So I'm going to go Addison over 45.5 and Osborne over 20, measly 26.5 at ESPN Bet. So I'm going with
It's a
both
low
of those
number.
receivers. So yeah, low number, boomer bust guy, but I think he's going to get it today just because he'll get like 7 targets today, something absurd. And he's got to catch a couple.
Yeah, Brian in the chat is with you on Addison, and then Mechanical is on Goff over passing yards. Which, if he plays the whole game,
he should get it.
It's like 206 yards. It's super low, but yeah, you just don't know if he's going to play the full game.
But you're right. I thought one of the games was in the early slate, but if they're both in the late slate, maybe he will play the whole game. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. All right, next game: Falcons versus Saints. What do you got in this one?
Easy. I only got one play. I don't want to touch player props under. I wish I got the 0.5, but I'm going under 42, -108 on DraftKings. Look, man, it's a low number, but both teams, they got to win, and I think because of that, you're going to see a much more, at least for one half. And so that's why I wondered, should I go with first half? Should I do total game? Maybe I should have done first half, but I think you're going to see a pretty conservative game script, at least for a half game, because I think neither team wants to make that big, momentum swinging, game altering turnover. I think you're just going to see a lot of boring run. Falcons D is actually decent. I do worry because the Saints D has kind of dropped off in the second half of the season, but I think this is going to be an ugly, South game again. And I don't see a ton of points being put up with a very probably conservative play call. So I'm just going to roll with the under to keep things simple, under 42.
Yeah, I'm with you on the under. It's not my play, but I can see the logic. I'm not super confident on this one, but I went with the Saints -3. I cannot get behind anything that the Falcons are doing. If they lose, they're going to fire Arthur Smith. And because the universe wills that to be the case, I am going to go with the Saints and hope that Arthur Smith gets fired. I mean, he drafted 3 guys in the top 10, 3 offensive skill players in the top 10, and he doesn't use any of them. It's the dumbest thing. It's the worst coaching job I've seen since the Pistons with Monty Williams, if people are hip with the NBA. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Like, they're running their offense through Tyler Algier, Jonnu Smith, Mac Hollins, all these jabrones. When they have these studs, it's like the most stubborn old man thing. Like, I don't need these super talented guys. I can win with anybody. So the universe wills it, so he's going to get fired. I'm not a believer in the Saints by any means, but Derek Carr has been a lot better the past month. So if you want to use the argument that he's been hurt all year and he's getting healthy, that's fine. I'm not really a Derek Carr guy, but he has been better. And their defense, like you mentioned, they had like a weird stretch where at the beginning of the year they were good. Then they had a lull. They've actually been good recently within like the past couple of weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks. So it's a smaller sample size. But last week they shut down the Bucs offense that had been on fire. So I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. It's -105 at DraftKings. So I do think that getting the -105, if they win by field goal, just pushes, I think is pretty good. Again, I'm not super confident in that. I did lock it in myself. So if you check my picket, you will see it. But if you're asking like my favorite picks of the day, I would not put this up there.
Sure.
And Jeff Braverman asking about Bijan Robinson touchdown. I've been burned too many times backing Bijan. I don't know what the Falcons are doing. And
Me too.
I'm not touching that.
I can't. Every time I bet him, it's a Tyler Algier day, and then when I think it's going to be Algier again, because I'm like, I guess they're just going to be stupid, and then it's a game where Bijan goes off for like 80, scrimmage yards, but then can't find the end zone. So I can't do it. I just hope to God that he gets fired. That's all I care about. I'm not even a Falcons fan. It's just frustrating how talented like Drake London and all these guys are. All right, next game, Jags versus Titans. So I have 2 player props here, and I don't know if you saw this, but this was a whole thing on social media talking about player incentives and then betting based off of that. Like some guy posted every single incentive, but then a lot of people roasted him because he posted it on like Tuesday when books didn't even have odds out yet. So you're telling people to bet this without even odds posted. So it was a whole thing. This is one of the rare times where I am going to bet on the contract incentive. Okay. So I'm taking DeAndre Hopkins 2+ touchdowns. That's at plus 1,900. So I only put $10 on that. So unit size responsibly. And then I took DeAndre Hopkins 7+ receptions
That one I put a half unit on. It was plus 130, plus 128, something like that. I'll admit that 7+ receptions isn't a great price, considering 7+ receptions is a lot. But basically, if Hopkins has a big game, he's close to 3 different contract incentives for yards, touchdowns, and receptions. Yards, he only needs, I think, 29 or 39, so he's going to hit that.
Okay.
He's 7 receptions away from 500K, and he's 2 touchdowns away from 750K. This game means nothing for the Titans. DeAndre Hopkins is not shy to voice his opinion on things. So he's going to be in the ear. I think it's going to be Tannehill tonight. He's going to be in his ear.
It is Tannehill. Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to throw me a bubble screen. He's going to be in his ear. And also you can pass on the Jags. Like they allow 245.3 passing yards per game. That's 27th in the NFL. They allow 25 passing touchdowns. That's tied for 6th most in the NFL. So these are smaller plays. Again, literally $10 on the 2+ touchdowns. It's plus 1,900 and half unit on the 7+ receptions. I tweeted this out. It's not worth parlaying because they're correlated. FanDuel's giving you terrible odds on the same game parlay. So it only makes sense to take them separately. Brian asking, where'd you find this 7+ receptions for Hopkins? I locked it in on FanDuel. Maybe they took that away because I also wanted to take an alternate reception prop for Evan Ingram, but they don't have alternate lines for Evan Ingram. They just have his main line receptions, and that's all the way at it's over 4.5, but it's minus 142, which I'm not touching. If they post alternate lines for Evan Ingram receptions, I will probably hit that for a smaller play. But anyways,
they still have Hopkins 7 receptions. They have it there for plus 136.
Oh, so it's actually better odds then. So it moved away from me. So you could get better odds than what I got it at. I wouldn't hammer that by any means. It's a small half unit play, but there's not a ton of contract incentives that I actually thought you could bet. This one I thought was one of them.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, Hopkins, that's a lot of money, man. I mean, and look, I think, to your point, I don't think you want to tell people just smash incentives when you don't even know what the odds are and stuff. That's kind of
exactly.
Weird, but some of these players do, focus on this stuff. Like if you saw yesterday, like Jadeveon Clowney, he went nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that when he got that back. The cameraman did a great job and just kept, following Clowney, and he must have danced for a solid, I don't know, 10 seconds, right? I'm not exaggerating. Maybe like a 10-second celebration where he was he
danced for every 100K he got because of that sack.
he was like doing the lasso thing. He was like, I don't blame him though. I think he hit like 700. What did they say? 700 grand for that one.
Something like that. Yeah.
God. I mean, so you could see, that's evidence right there. Players care. I would care. That's my money. And that's supporting my family, right? 700K. Even though they're millionaires, dude, do you want to give up 700K? I'd want my 700K. So I kind of I like it. What else do the Titans really have to play for in this game?
Nothing.
So,
they have nothing. Yeah.
They have nothing to play for. So yeah, I might roll with you on that one. I think definitely on the reception one. So, okay. All I got here is, same thing. I know I'm being a little boring today and you know me, I hate unders, but I am going to go with another under. Again, you can pass on the Jags, you can pass on the Titans, but they're both pretty good, overall as at stifling you, and they've been pretty decent on the defensive end. I think this is going to be another nasty, ugly defensive struggle. I do think there is going to be a lot of dink and dunk, not just to support Matt here. It's just that this is how they're designed on both sides. Like you can pass on both these guys with these small underneath things. So I do think we're going to see a lot of boring dink and dunk. I don't think we're going to see a ton of points on the board. This one, unlike the Falcons-Saints game, I am just going to go with the half because I do think if the Jags are close or if they're slightly down or if they're really down, they're going to go super desperate second half and start airing it out against these Titans, which you can do to some degree. But I think first half, again, it's Titans, they're going to do what they do. Ryan Tannehill's not some phenom, okay? So I think they're going to keep it on the ground and do dink and dunk. But on the Jag side, I think they're going to be a little tight and they're going to just feel out the game. Can we just win this game with a limited, quarterback who's still coming off an injury? Can we just run the ball, play conservative, play mistake-free football? So I think we're going to see a low-scoring first half. So this one, I am going to go with the first half under. I am going to go under 20.5. God, that's so low. But you're getting almost even odds, -102 at DraftKings. So I'm going to roll with that rather than the full game under like I did in the Falcons-Saints game. So
it's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but
yeah, it's not terrible.
It's going to be tight. I mean, they're going to score. Someone's going to score, but I wonder if it's going to be a nasty first half with just a lot of rush calls and bubble screens, like you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. All right, next game, and I believe this is the first game of the afternoon slate, at least that we're covering. Seahawks versus Cardinals. What do you have here?
Oh, okay. Seahawks versus Cardinals. Man, I don't know why, but this, I mean, I know this is, I said I was going to bet on desperation. I'm a little nervous about the main lines to bet on Seattle for some reason. I think
the Cardinals are going to win. So I am with you.
I don't really get it. I mean, I guess I kind of do. There's losing more apparently doesn't help the Cardinals at this point from a draft perspective. Like they're basically, they can't move up the rankings. Like I forget the reasons why, but
the Commanders are locked into the second pick if they lose, and the Commanders are absolutely going to lose. And then it's something with the Patriots. I forget the exact scenario, but it's not like they could get up to number 2, I think.
Yeah. So I'm nervous. I can actually see the Cardinals covering or maybe even sneaking one in, and the Seattle Seahawks, who've just kind of been a letdown, sadly, in this tail stretch of the season, where I thought they were going to be pretty decent, partway through the year, but I'm just staying away from the main line. So I am going to focus on just some props though. So I do believe, just in the name of, and I know I'm sounding repetitive, conservatism, I do think Carroll is just going to be conservative in the first half. So I do think Kenneth Walker is going to get his touches. So I am going to go with Kenneth Walker rushing yards. I'm going to go, right now it's at over 59.5 rushing yards. At a lot of books. I mean, you can get that a lot of places. So I'm going to go over 59.5. You could get that at Bet Rivers. You could get that at DraftKings, Caesars. I mean, the odds are all variant. The best one is at Bet Rivers -118 right now, what I could see. So that's one of my favorite props that I'm going to go with. I also am going to go with, again, strange. I would just rest my players for the future, but it seems like they're riding James Conner right now. So I'm also going to go James Conner over rushing yards at 70.5, -110 at FanDuel. So I'm going with the running backs because I don't know, man. Conner's looking good in this, I guess, latter part of his career. I do think Kenneth Walker is going to get a lot of conservative play calling in the first half of the game. So I'm just going with the running backs in this game. I
am with you on both of those. Instead of rushing yards for Kenneth Walker, I had anytime touchdown. It's +110 at FanDuel. The Cardinals give up the most rushing yards per game in the NFL. They're the second worst rushing defense according to DVOA. Kenneth Walker, he had like a really good start to the year from touchdowns. Then he got hurt and he was battling injuries. He's been good recently. He scored in 2 of the past 3 games. And the matchup is so juicy. And I also like, when they drafted Charbonnet, you thought, oh, maybe he's going to split the work with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is doubling up Charbonnet and basically all stats in terms of attempts, including the red zone. So when I think they get close, I think they're going to lean on Kenneth Walker. I think +110 odds for him to score is a really good price. I'm with you on James Conner rushing yards. I also have James Conner anytime touchdown. It's even money. It's +100 at ESPN Bet. But I think that getting plus money for him is an absolute gift. Or the only book giving you non-minus money. The only book, another way of phrasing that, only book giving you plus money. Every other book has it for minus money. I also like him to score 2 touchdowns. That's +500. I put a quarter unit on that. I'm with you. They're just running him into the ground. His last 4 games, his rushing attempts, 25, 14, 12, 26. In that span, he has scored a total of 6 touchdowns. He had 2 last week against the Eagles. Then he had 1 and 1. Then he had 2 4 weeks ago against the Steelers. And the Seahawks have been the only team, the Cardinals are the only team that is worse than Seattle in terms of giving up rushing yards since week 12, which again, pretty big sample size.
Yeah.
Seattle is allowing 136.8 rushing yards per game. Again, the only team above them is the Cardinals in this same matchup. So both running backs are a smash spot. Last week, the Seahawks allowed 122 rushing yards to Najee Harris, and 75 to Jalen Warren in the same game. Prior to that, the week prior to
A
that,
lot, yeah.
88 to Derrick Henry and 40 to Tajay Spears. Again, that's the same game. And James Conner gets all the work. They don't split the carries for the Cardinals. 10 straight running backs have gone over their rushing yards over under against Seattle. That's according to props.cash. So any way you can touch James Conner, touchdown, 2 touchdowns. I also pumped him up to 100 plus rushing yards for it's plus 220 odds. I put a half unit on that. It's one of the most reliable things. It's not a Bijan Robinson situation. You know that as long as they're not getting blown out, which neither of us expect that to be the case, they're going to lean heavily on James Conner. So I love basically every type of prop you can get for him. I didn't see, last time I checked, they didn't have, I guess they do have rushing attempts now. His is at 15.5. It's pretty juiced towards the over, so it might not be worth touching, but they're going to run the ball a million times with James Conner.
Yeah, they are.
All right. Anyways, next up, Bears versus Packers. So technically it's my turn to go first, but it's your Bears. So I'll let you take the floor.
Bears, it's been fun watching them. God, I wish they could have had their act together,
for beginning of the year.
2/3 of the year. Yeah. It's, I will say I've come to realize Eberflus is actually a decent coach. I was kind of doubting that partway through the season. Decent with the caveat, like he's turned around the defense. We basically had to let go of our defensive coordinator in the locker room. The defensive team is just like, they're just like, yeah, it was just a total train wreck. They said that when Eberflus wasn't calling the plays. Now, once he took over the helm of calling the defensive plays, like it's been a totally different defense. I mean, they went from like bottom, like 28th, 29th to like, overall, like I think top 10. And if you look at specific metrics like rush D and stuff, they're like top 5 in some of these categories now. I mean, it's like a total turnaround. So offensive play calling, it's still horrific in my opinion. We always have one great scripted first drive and then we suck later. And especially the second half, it's like Getsy runs out of play calls or something, or I don't know, but he gets too cute on 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s, and we have weird motions and elaborate jet sweeps instead of just either rushing it or just throwing a damn pass. So, but long-winded, just giving some credit to my Bears, despite the fact that we're not making the playoffs, that they did turn things around. So I do think it's relevant to my comment. I do think they're going to try to play spoiler. So I don't think they're going to lay dead. I think the GM polls on the Bears is still trying to figure out, like, are we keeping Justin Fields or not? So I actually think the Bears are going to play like a full game. So in my mind, the way that I kind of at least, cap this game, this is going to be a straight up game. I don't think that people are going to be resting. Packers need to win, obviously. So I think you can kind of approach it that way. So, I actually think my Bears might cover and spoil this. I think they're actually it's so lame. They have nothing to play for, but they got so embarrassed in the season opener. And I've been so bad at picking my Bears spots, but I'm going to just end the regular season by rolling and being supportive to my home team. But legitimately, for all the reasons I said earlier, I actually think the Bears can play spoiler here. So I am basically going to roll with the Bears in the main market. Not forget cover. I'm just going to say the Bears are going to win. I'm just going to roll with my Bears.
It's funny. We don't talk about our plays beforehand. I'm with you. I think my official play is Bears +3. I think they're also going to win straight up. I think they're going to win. They've been great since Justin Fields came back from injury, and they've been great on defense since they traded for Montez Sweat. And I guess I didn't realize that coincided with Eberflus taking over play calling. Like in the chat, Brian said, like, Bears rushing defense looks great. Brian McMurray, and he's on Aaron Jones under 67.5 rushing yards. I like that. I like both. I totally am in agreement. White Lewis Riddick is in the chat. What's up? And Long Money Larry's also on Chicago. So it looks like it's a unanimous stream on the Bears, which means that they're going to get blown out. That's what that means. I like Fields anytime touchdown because he's running the ball so much. I haven't actually locked that in yet. I wanted to talk to you before that. Something to think about maybe when we talk about our same game, our parlay, but he's plus 160 to score at ESPN Bet. And he's been running a lot more recently. He's basically like targeting DJ Moore or he's running. It's a very easy offense to understand there. And Cole Kmet is kind of banged up and hasn't been playing a ton of snaps.
Yeah.
So yeah, that my official play is Bears +3. I think it's at -113 now is best offered on Bet Rivers. It's -115 elsewhere. And then I like Justin Fields' touchdown. I haven't officially locked that in yet, but
I like that too. I think we should put that in a parlay. I think he's going to make a statement today, and he's going to want to end the year on a positive note, meaning keep me or any team out there. See, I'm still a stud, and take me, please. So I think he's going to have a good game today.
Yeah, and the thing with Fields is he's so talented, but he makes so many negative plays, like a dumb fumble, a dumb
lots
turnover.
lots of fumbles, lots of turnovers. So the other couple props I do have for this game, and partially, due to injuries, is on the Green Bay side. They're kind of banged up. That's part of the reason. Like I wasn't just being like a
everybody's
homer,
banged up.
Yeah, but I mean their receiver core is.
Yeah.
I mean they don't have Dillon at running back, so that's why to the other guy who was talking about Jones, I like the under because you got two factors. Bears rush D is good, and they've really shored that up. You don't have Dillon, so can Jones really carry the ball like a million times? Like, I mean, that you could argue it both ways. You're going to say, well, he's going to be leaned on, but man, when you get stuffed, if they get stuffed in the first half, I think they may veer away from that. So and the problem is the receiver core. A lot of the receivers are still up in the air. I don't know if Christian Watson is even going to play. I think they were saying he's questionable, or he's even if he does play, he's kind of banged up. So you got a limited core there. So I do like Tucker Kraft. He's kind of come on.
Yeah.
And, he's I wouldn't say he's blowing the top off of teams, but he's consistently, he's taken over that role for Musgrave. And, we took Tanyan. Musgrave was their new type, their new Tanyan at the beginning of the year, but now with Musgrave out, look at his numbers. I mean, I'm pulling it up right now on props.cash. Here's his receiving yards: 48, 60, 57, 64, 37. His receptions: 6, 4, 4, 4, 3, 2, 2. So the last few games, 6, 4, 4, 4, 3. So
pretty good.
His reception prop over 3.5 is plus money right now, plus 140 on FanDuel. So he's hit that 4 out of 5, and you're going to give me plus 140. I'm going to go Tucker Kraft over 3.5 receptions on FanDuel for plus money. Not even just barely plus money. It's plus 140.
I like that.
I'm going to take that.
You convinced me.
I'm going to take it. And I don't blame you if you want his receiving yards. Over 30.5 receiving yards. He's hit that in, let's see, 5 out of the last 5 and 6 out of the last 7. You're giving me real life data 6 out of 7 times. And you're setting the line at 30.5 where he's covered that 6 out of 7 times. Give me Tucker Kraft over on receiving and give me Tucker Kraft over 3.5 receptions.
There we go. I love it. I'm with you on the receptions. I'm taking that one as well. Plus 140 is very good.
There you go.
All right. Next game, Eagles versus Giants. I'm just taking the Giants to cover the spread. It's 5.5, -113 at Sport Trade. It's 4 most other places. You can even get it's 5 most other places. You can even get 4.5 for better odds. I don't know if the Eagles are actually going to lose, but they've looked terrible for 6 weeks now. Yeah. And the film against the Cardinals last week is like the worst defensive film you've ever seen.
Yeah.
They did just beat the Giants by 8 2 weeks ago, but they got outscored 22-13 in the second half. And what happened at halftime was the Giants benched Tommy DeVito for Tyrod Taylor in the second half. And that's when the Giants played better. Granted, part of that was because of turnovers, but the Eagles have been turning the ball over all year. And the Eagles might rest their starters. Like if it's halftime and the Cowboys are up by 45 points, which is probably going to happen, they're going to rest their starters. They're going to go for the playoffs. Sirianni even said that he might rest some guys heading into the game.
Yeah.
Because even though if the Eagles win and the Cowboys lose, the Eagles win the division, that's not going to happen. And like Devontae Smith is banged up. He's out. Darius Slay is out. They just got some weird juju going on with the team. So I could see them kind of almost taking this week in terms of game plan to reset. Like we're not going to game plan specifically for the Giants. We're going to take a step back, try to figure out what the heck's going on our end, and use that to help them play better in the playoffs. We'll see if that actually happens. But I don't think anybody on the Eagles, aside from like a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown, and that's always nuked to high hell, to me is worth touching. So I took the Giants to cover the spread. terms of player props, I don't have anything that I officially locked in. I like Saquon. I guess Jalen Hurts, the score is plus 105 at FanDuel. That's not terrible. I like Saquon. He's plus 105 at ESPN Bet. They're also just riding him into the ground. It's a contract year, so they don't care. They're not going to re-sign him. They're like, whatever. We don't care if we run him into the ground. We don't care if his legs are dead next year because it's not going to matter. So I think Saquon, I like him to score. I haven't officially locked anything in, only the Giants spread, but that's kind of where I'm leaning in this one.
Yeah, I actually don't. Even though this one, like you said, it has some minor playoff implications with seeding. It really, I mean, it doesn't have like playoff implications.
Right.
So
It really
I
doesn't.
think, yeah. So that's kind of the problem. So I really didn't have much on this. I'm with you. I thought Giants spread was really the only thing I would lean towards for all the reasons you just said. I mean, there's really not much more for me to add. And player props, I didn't want to touch anything just because I don't know how hard either side is really going to care about this. So I'm kind of staying away from this. My only thoughts were Giants spread is kind of high, so I think they could cover plus 5.5 at this point. So that's the only one I would kind of lean towards.
Yeah, again, they could, if the Eagles find out at halftime, they could even the Giants could win straight up.
Yeah, the Eagles could pack this in, and I don't blame them. They just want to focus on health. So
exactly. All right, next game, the game we just talked about, Cowboys versus Commanders. What do you have in this one?
Oh gosh, this same thing. I mean, the only thing I'm gonna go with right here is give me one second. I have to pull it up again where I bet it on my sport book here. I don't trust anything for the whole game because I don't know what's gonna happen with the starters. But yeah, I just went Dallas Cowboys first half spread. Cowboys to cover a touchdown. So it's Cowboys minus 6.5 at Bet Rivers. That's where I bet it earlier in the day. So if you can still catch that right now, I think it's moved to 7 at some places. You can still get it at 7 at Caesars at minus 120. I don't think that's bad. So if you can catch the minus 6.5, if that's still accurate, take that. If not, go ahead 7. I wouldn't go past 7, but minus 7, Caesars minus 120 first half spread. I don't trust what happens in the second half, but Dallas Cowboys first half, they should run it up.
I do trust what happens in the second half. I think they're going to beat the crap out of the Cowboys or out of the Commanders. I took Cowboys minus 12.5. You can get that at Sport Trade at minus 111. Now you can also get them minus 113 basically across the board. The Commanders they're tanking this game. They're benching anybody that has any sort of name on defense. They're starting Sam Howell, who they benched literally 2 weeks in a row at halftime. It's Ron Rivera's last game. Nobody is looking forward to the offseason more than the Commanders. I know that generally with the Cowboys, they don't play it as well at home, but you hope that with the chance to win the division, doesn't matter playing in Washington that doesn't even have a home field advantage because nobody goes to that stadium. So the Cowboys win. They're the 2 seed. I think they're going to beat the crap out of the Commanders because they do need to win. Unless the Eagles are losing, the Cowboys can't look at scores at halftime and be like, oh, we can rest our guys. Because unless the Eagles are losing by 30 points, they're going to have to win. So if you want to take a Cowboys alt spread minus 27.5, I'm not going to talk you out of it, but I'm just going to take their main line. Really, there are really no props worth taking for the Cowboys because they're all juiced to high hell. Like CeeDee Lamb, anytime touchdown is like minus 150, I think, last I checked.
And that's the thing. I mean, they might be up by such a huge cushion by the third quarter. They might sit, CD at, literally after the third or partway through the third. You never know. That's the problem with the Cowboys props.
The only thing that I like is a dart throw. Let's say they're up huge in the second half. Rico Dowdle, anytime touchdown, plus 270 is pretty good.
Maybe that's a good live bet. You wait and see what they're doing with Pollard and stuff. And then maybe it juices up even more if Dowdle hasn't found the end zone by then,
Yeah, that's true. Or if you really want to get spicy, and this is probably a live bet, but Deuce Vaughn plus 420.
Oh,
he's a rookie.
Deuce Vaughn. I haven't.
Yeah, maybe again, if they're winning by a ton, maybe in the second half, they want to give the rookie some run because he didn't really do much all this year.
Yeah.
That's where I would go with Cowboys player props. I'm not touching anybody that is important because they could run up the score in the first half and Dak could have a great game, but he might only pass for less than 200 yards because the game's going to be such a blowout. So, all right, last game, best game of the slate by far, the game that has awesome playoff implications, Bills versus Dolphins. What do you have for me in this one?
Main market, I'm just going to roll with the Bills. So, I think the Bills have turned things around. Yes, does Josh Allen's error proneness make me nervous? Sure, but I'm going to go with the Bills to cover the spread -2.5. You can get that at Bet Rivers again, but -3 at a lot of other places. So you can get it as low as -110 at FanDuel. So I'm going to go with the Bills to cover a field goal, basically. So I'm not going to hesitate on that one. Dolphins have been concerning this season. Everyone's well aware of their stats against like good and better teams. Wouldn't say the Bills are elite, but they, in a small sample size, since they're kind of turnaround, like they've been good. So I do think they fall into that category. So I'm going to go with the Bills to cover. I usually don't do a lot of touchdowns lately just because of the high variance, but Josh Allen has been the hero, and he's playing hero ball, and he's been playing very well. So I think Josh Allen to rush one in to score a touchdown is not absurd in this game where they really got to win. So I'm also going to roll with a Josh Allen to rush one in for an anytime touchdown, guy. So those are my two plays for the Bills game.
I'm with you on the Bills 100%. I put a full unit on the Bills. I actually put a full unit on their money line because I didn't want to mess with the spread. It's a little bit juiced. It's -148, but I still think
terrible. That's not terrible.
As long as I got below -150, that was my cutoff there. The Bills the Dolphins are just so banged up. They're going to be missing Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert. And we all know that, yes, Tyreek Hill is the engine for that offense, but if they miss one key piece, it's like the whole engine just gets disrupted. On defense, they're out their top two pass rushers because earlier in the year, Jalen Phillips got hurt. Last week, Bradley Chubb got hurt. They're also missing Xavier Howard, one of their top cornerbacks. They're just so banged up. It really sucks. I also like Devon Achane anytime touchdown. So, and yes, someone in the comments just mentioned that. So I was on that yesterday before it got confirmed that Mostert was ruled out. I got it at +100.
Oh,
right now it's best offered at -125.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would that -125 on DraftKings isn't terrible because Caesars is at -175. FanDuel is at -150. Bet Rivers at -175. Flip at -165. That is still a good price. And, positive EV betting is not caring about the odds individually. It's about the odds compared to the market. So that is still a good price. It's just steep for a touchdown. And if the game gets out of hand for the Dolphins, I know Achane scored last week in a game that got out of hand, but relying on that 2 weeks in a row is a little bit scary. So I don't have any other player props in this one. I like Josh Allen, but again, he's -120 to score. So it's a parlay piece for me.
Yeah.
But the Bills are one of my biggest plays in terms of not necessarily to win, but in terms of dollars risked because it's a little bit juiced. That's my biggest play of the day is the Bills money line.
Yeah, no, I like the Bills here. I think the Bills are going to secure this dub and march.
And now they're going to be the two seed, which is crazy. They're going to have home field advantage over the Chiefs if they win.
Everyone legitimately was like, Bills might not make the playoffs. And now
that was me. I was on my biggest hot take preseason was Bills missed the playoffs, and I felt really good. But they've been on a roll recently, and I got to give them props. All right, that's every single game. If anybody has any questions or if they missed something, just let us know in the chat. Now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Complete Degeneracy. So in terms of players that we were in agreement on was Kenneth Walker and James Conner. You liked their yards. I like them to score a touchdown. I don't know if I don't want to put both in the same game in a parlay, but I'm just kind of thinking of parlay props.
I like the Justin Fields angle you said, and
okay.
I think we should pick one of the two in the Seahawks game.
All right. So Justin Fields is technically, I think this parlay is going to be best offer on ESPN Bet. ESPN Bet's been pretty good with their odds, and they don't limit me anymore. So I very much appreciate them.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, hey, we're not only mean to the sports books. If you aren't a loser sportsbook, then we will give you props.
Yeah.
All right. So Justin Fields is +165 at ESPN Bet.
Okay.
If my screen would load, I would. There we go. Add it so I could just see where this is best offered. So for the other game, Seahawks Cardinals.
Do we roll with desperation with the Seahawks?
Yeah, this actually was loading so low. There we go. So James Conner is plus 100 on ESPN Bet. Kenneth Walker is plus 105. So they're both for plus money.
Oh,
I personally think that even though they're not the favorite, I think, and the odds reflect this, James Conner, I think, is more reliable than Kenneth Walker because they're just gonna run the ball a million times.
James Conner. Let's go James Conner then. Let's go James Conner.
All right, so that's our second one.
Okay.
So I liked Rachaad White. You liked Mike Evans.
I like White to score. I like Evans' yards more than his touchdown.
Okay.
No, I like White just because, again, Bucks can't F this up, man. You know what I mean? Like
if they lose to the freaking Panthers, they just fire everybody. That's that's one of the worst things in the world.
And I think having Rachaad White give you that flexibility. This is, even though the Bucks run game is horrific, this is a team you can run on in a goal line situation. So Rachaad White can get you there in two ways, right? So I think given that versatility, I think Rachaad White might be the better way to go on this one. So
all right. So if we add Rachaad White, so FanDuel had him. I guess FanDuel took, maybe it's just not on the site because the odds aren't nearly as good as they were. But anyway, so Rachaad White, if we add him, that gets our parlay to plus 854.
That's pretty good. Just for, I mean, I almost count Justin Fields as a running back. So for like 3 running backs, you basically 854. I think that's good. I think that's good just for 3. That's keep life simple. It's hard enough to even get 2 of these right sometimes, you know?
Yeah. So all right, I'll put a quarter unit on that. That's parlay number 1.
And those are the odds on ESPN Bet, you're saying?
ESPN Bet. Okay. That's best. It's best offered on ESPN Bet.
Okay, gotcha.
By far.
All right.
All right. Now let's get crazy.
Okay.
Something like, a $5 lottery ticket type thing. So I know you came through with the field goals, anything like that?
I found one, but I don't like the odds. I was actually looking at Nick Mullins to be the leader in passing yards today, just because there's no Joe Flacco. I would never do it if Flacco was here, but
that's a good one.
But it's not good. Maybe we should check FanDuel. It wasn't listed on FanDuel earlier. I don't know if they're not offering the weekly leaders this week, but odds are not good on DraftKings. That's my only reluctance. They have him listed at plus 750, and that's not very sexy to me because he might get 250, but he might not surpass that by a ton. But he might. I mean, if he has one of those crazy days where they're desperate, but
yeah, I'm not seeing it on FanDuel.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. The only place I could find it right now is DraftKings plus 750. I don't know if that's good enough.
750, I would agree. That needs to be plus 1,000 or above.
Yeah, so that's the only reason. It was a good thought, but I don't think. And some people might say on face value, like, "Oh, that's huge odds." No, not when you're competing against like Tua and all these other guys, right? I mean, he's gonna have to beat Tua. Like, you got to give me like 1,200, 1,500, somewhere in that range to entice me. So
yeah, that makes sense. So I'm trying to think of like the super large plus money ones that I liked. Was Hopkins 2 touchdowns. That probably isn't worth it. I'd say if we're going to do it, just do 1 touchdown. Although FanDuel has it locked, so I don't know what's going on with FanDuel. I don't know. What do you think? I kind of led the last one. What do you think for this next one? Like plus like 2,000 odds or above.
Let me see here. I would say, okay, I'm just trying to think of all the plus money ones we talked about. So we talked about Hopkins's incentives, right?
So Hopkins 2+ touchdowns is plus 1,900. Or we could do 7 receptions, which is plus 118. So it went down again.
Okay. All right. So how about this? If we did Tucker Kraft 4 receptions, that was juicy plus 140, I think, right?
Yeah. All right, let's do that. I did forget that you like that one for plus money. And I guess the Cowboys running backs one we talked about, we probably not in the parlay. You think just wait and live do those, like either Rico Dowdle or Deuce Vaughn.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we just throw it in now? Let's throw in a Rico Dowdle. I like that thought. That I have confidence that the Cowboys will pull away far enough early enough that you might get some Dowdle touches. So Rico Dowdle TD.
All right, Rico Dowdle touchdown.
I know we're getting a little ridiculous, but it's okay. This is what this one's about. So
I think FanDuel doesn't have that offered.
Oh man, they took him off the board.
Yeah, unless I'm just blind, and I don't think you can get 7+ receptions on any other book aside from FanDuel. So we might be stuck with
Deuce Vaughn. They listed.
Deuce Vaughn.
Forget it. How about this? How about what's Turpin been doing lately? Let me take a look real quick.
Turpin? That I don't know.
Let me take a look. He's such a gadget player. Let me see here.
Why did they take Cavante? He's plus 700. Why did they take Rico Dowdle off? They're scared.
Because he might do what we're talking about. Yeah. Let me see.
But like having him off the board, that's lame.
That is lame. Turpin hasn't scored in a while though. That's like pre-Thanksgiving. So
yeah,
I like the Dowdle angle, but
maybe we do a Deuce Vaughn, or do we just sit this one out?
Yeah, we might have to pass. I don't know if Deuce Vaughn's even going to get too much. So okay, so Tucker Kraft plus 140. We might throw in the Hopkins receptions.
Yeah, the other one that we both seem to like is Mullins passing. So we could do like a pumped up number for that.
Yeah,
if we take take 300 yards, that's plus 220.
Oh, that's not bad. 220 for the 300.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. That's a good thought. Instead of the weekly leader thing, because I don't like that too much. So
yeah, the value, and then we need one more. So I mean, we're already on Connor. He's the only other pumped up number that I liked was Connor rushing yards, but we're already on Connor.
Just scrolling. Man, too many meaningless games this week, man.
I know. I mean, if we add Josh Allen touchdown, that gets us to plus 3,000. Even though that's minus 115.
Ooh. Okay.
Is that high enough?
I'm sold. I'm sold on that if we add the Allen TD. Okay.
All right. Sorry.
So that we have to do that on FanDuel though, right? You said
it has to be on FanDuel because no other book is offering reception props for Hopkins.
Okay.
So we're at 4-leg parlay. Hopkins 7+ receptions. Tucker Kraft over 3.5 receptions. Nick Mullins 300+ passing yards. Josh Allen anytime touchdown. I'm putting $25 on it to win $760 plus 3,000 odds.
Ooh. All right.
And then I will post these as well for people that weren't able to catch all that, so you can tell there. But cool. All right. So I guess I should say we will still be doing this for the playoffs. I guess I don't know if we'll do it Saturday, but next Sunday we'll be live for the playoff games. We'll probably go in a little bit more detail on each of the games.
Yeah, which obviously have a lot of meaning. So these are a little tougher this week.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. Well, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate everybody who tuned in all regular season. It was fun. I'm glad we were able to do this. Let's hope we can get some of these bangers to cash, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Take it easy, guys.